Let's talk Clippers. What's the aftermath? Is Doc Rivers in any sort of trouble with the Clips?
I haven't heard that. I think that, there's a reason Kawhi Leonard, Paul George wanted to come to the Clippers. Doc Rivers was a major reason. This loss was difficult. There's no question about it. And now they're going to need to find a way to, and a lot of it might come internally. They're going to have, a couple parts that they could look to move. I think getting another playmaker will likely be a priority for them this summer. Another guy at point guard in the backcourt potentially. But they have the talent. They have the pieces. They just did not perform at the level that they needed to. And Paul George didn't step up to the plate in clutch moments. The one off game Kawhi Leonard had so happened to come at the same time that other guys were also struggling. Lou Williams couldn't find his stride in the playoffs. Montrezl Harrell. So they could easily run it back. They have the talent. They still have all the pieces to compete for a championship berth.
Is there really any truth to Paul George saying, did the Clippers really have an approach this season prior to the pandemic and then post bubbling up in the bubble that this year wasn't the year anyway? That they had more runway than this season to win championship or bust? Was that really the mindset of the Clippers? Because that I found very hard to believe, Shams.
Technically, they did have the runway. They have next year with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard under contract before their player option years. But overall, this year was still looked at, from all players, coaches. The championship was the ultimate goal this year. Anything short of that, and that's the expectation that the Clippers put on themselves when they went out, got Kawhi Leonard in free agency, traded multiple draft picks, Shea Alexander, Alexander for Paul George. That's the expectation you put on yourself with the championship coach and Doc Rivers, the talent that they have on this roster. This is a championship level team. Lawrence Frank, Doc Rivers, these guys have high expectations. Nothing short of a championship would have satisfied this Clippers season.
And I'm sure you weren't surprised by it, but maybe the ferocity of it. NBA Twitter and the rest of the NBA, from Magic Johnson to C.J. McCollum and Damian Lillard, I guess three people jumped at me. The widespread glee with which the rest of NBA Twitter and NBA players took with the Clippers blowing it. Walk me through all of that, those who might need a refresher. Were you surprised with the ferocity of everybody just having so much fun at the Clippers' expense?
No, I saw a couple blurbs about it. I saw a couple tweets, but I didn't really get to it. Obviously, I was at the game and did post-game stuff, so I didn't really fully get into it. But listen, the Clippers, they put the expectation, the pressure on themselves, and now, you're going to have to deal with it. These are just things that you have to deal with. It's noise, and I would expect them to be right back in the thick of it next year.
Well, just to give you C.J. McCollum was pointing out that they, essentially that the Clippers voted to not be in the bubble anymore, but he didn't think that they would go out like that. He also tweeted out that he was wondering if they packed their bags before the game. Damian Lillard inviting them to Cabo. Magic Johnson saying that they choked again. Is there such an animus towards the Clippers league-wide, Shams?
I wouldn't say animus. I think that there were commercials done. There were billboards made in L.A., proclaiming their dominance. If you talk to Lakers fans, I'm sure they would say you got to go win a ring before you gloat. And so maybe they did get a little ahead in terms of the marketing. But again, that's all stuff these players can't control. And what's done between the lines is done between the lines. Denver. For them to come back from double-digit deficits in those last three games and win, credit to them.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.